Yo yo yo, I'm J to the XT, game dev rockstar wannabe, you've never heard of me, another game jam for me, this time it's Wowie 3, or something. Hi, I'm Jay. For those who don't know, a game jam is a short duration event where developers all make games to a single theme, announced when the event starts. Jonas Tyroller is the host of this one jam, and he's a game dev YouTuber whose passion for making games is only outshone by his charisma. I stan. His Wowie Jam series is all about challenging long-established facets of game design. Previous themes have included intentional glitches and literally everything interacting with everything else. Sounds interesting. Next theme's gotta be also good, right? Count me in. Wowie Jam theme. The theme was announced as Failure is Progress and subtitled Let's mess with the concept of winning and losing, and I instantly fell in love with it. Why? Well, I mean, for one, if I entered the jam but failed to complete the game in time, if at all, then I met the theme requirements. But also, well, gather round the campfire kiddies for story time with Jay. Okay, so it's a point of discussion for some as to what constitutes a game and what doesn't. It's a heated debate, and often the existence of fail states is cited as a requirement for whether or not a piece of interactive entertainment qualifies as a game or not. I respectfully disagree, as many games have small sections that are impossible to lose, usually showy set pieces that conclude or introduce levels, and I'm going to argue that this doesn't magically stop the game from being, well, a game. It still is. Fail states aren't it, chief, let's move along. But hey, what if? A game with no fail states. The kind of thing that usually fails a player will progress them instead. Too obvious? I guess so. But maybe what if the player literally cannot fail? I'm not reversing the fail and win conditions because that would effectively be just the same thing and there's still a way to fail, but removing failure altogether. And I could still keep the game, well, a game by introducing some scoring elements. I like this theme. My idea wasn't new by any stretch of the imagination, but hey, 3 days is too short a time for me to reinvent the wheel and drive to somewhere I can buy an original concept. So, let's do it. Day 1. A long time ago, longer now than it seems, when I was a different and edgier person, I decided that A, I was going to achieve, somehow, mega stardom as a game developer, and B, I'd get lots of haters along the way. Therefore, C, I should make a game in which they can hurt me, the handsome protagonist of this video, in a multitude of gory ways by flinging me into circular saws and whatnot. No more Jay. I'm not that person anymore, but I still love to see bits flung around by such carnage. So what if cheese? I scoped this on a post-it note because that seemed like a good way to keep the scope in check. More on that later. That's it, that's the concept. Throw cheese around. No way to lose, you're throwing cheese. For this I'd need to acquaint myself with Construct 3's physics behaviour, see if it works well enough to... Oh, that was easy. Control S, take the rest of the day off. Only I didn't. Given that I made a pixel art, kinda, game for the previous jam, I wanted to make a hand-drawn title for this one. I spent the evening drawing assets for the foreground until I ended up with this. And then it got late. Time for sleep. Day 2.
Panic.
Life's been stressful lately, and I'd started worrying whether or not the 3 days was going to be enough to make the game I'd thought of. I, as a result, had night terrors and panic attacks and slept maybe 2 hours. I started the day angsty and wondering if I'd bitten off more than I can chew. Post-it note, more like scope it nope. I'm going to say very honestly now that this should have been a clear sign that I hadn't rested and recovered fully after the previous jam, and I should have stopped here. I am, however, not the smartest kid on the block. I woke, unable to sleep, stupid early on the second day, and just set to work on my cheesy game. I was tired and stressing out about finishing in time. So I set about generating assets like crazy, appropriating a couple of the ones I drew from my friend Zed's Blackthorn Prod Jam game, A Brief History of Golf, as I went. So my game started looking like an actual game. I also added a couple of gimmicks and such, but really I was freaking out about how little time I had. I don't know if you know one of the secrets of indie game art, but I'll tell you right now. Hand-drawn art takes a lot of time, especially when compared against the basic squares and such I had for my previous title. Pixels fast, scribbles slow. Judging from the timestamps on my recorded video clips, I was at it till very, very late that day. From 6 AM till definitely past 1 AM on day 3, on very little sleep.
Panic.
Day 3.
Panic. More panic.
I'm not even kidding, I was going nuts. I had slept though. A bit. But I had a grand total of 4 levels and wanted more. I decided early on that most, if not every level, could be played in reverse for a slightly different experience. So I tried to get the count to 10 and then clone them all to do just that and get 20. I didn't have any way to finish levels yet, I kinda just tested each layout separately and made sure it was possible to get the cheese where I'd eventually put to the exit door. I was freaking out and basically I had no rest at all for the 3rd day in a row. I should have stopped by now, but I carried on because, well, the cheese compelled me. All hail cheeses. And you can tell I was losing the plot a little at this point because after making exits and quote-unquote failure work, I decided, what if a disembodied hand flicked the cheese? And so I decided to animate that, physically, on paper, like a mad person. I also sorely needed sound effects and music, so out came the mic and the household objects and I appropriated an old piece of rejected music or two. And then, at a sensible enough hour, I got very, very tired. Anybody would think I'd barely slept since the jam began. Anybody would be right. I had to accept that the rest of this game, title and end screens, would have to be done on the day tomorrow, mere hours before submission, because I was literally too tired to function for much longer in my role as slave to the cheese. Submission day. Ah yes, so named because it's officially the day this game beat me into submission. Little joke there. I felt like I had so much to do. I drew more cheese, hacked together a title screen, threw together an end screen, recorded a cheesy voiceover. Is it working? Great. Upload and submit with an hour left. Only it wasn't working, not completely. And because I'd forgotten to reset the level counter when the game was finished, it would hang on a second playthrough. I felt deflated. Defeated by cheese. I coulda, woulda, shoulda quit, but then this epic failure of mine would have made no progress. Do you see what I did there? Of course you did, you're smart and I, clearly, am not. Closing thoughts. Well, Jonas is a star, and kindly let Jam entrants upload important fixes, so there's a thing. Did I fail? No, not really. I made a very good looking game against all odds, and it's kinda fun to fling the cheese around. If there's one important lesson learned here, it's maybe don't set myself up for basically 48 hours of drawing and 24 hours of panic. I should have stopped, but I didn't. And perhaps in my own way I personally fit the theme more than my game. Because I failed to scope my game well enough to not crunch for 3 days, but succeeded in actually making it nonetheless. And I did have fun. I had some banter in Discord. A few back and forths with Jonah himself over Twitter because he is very funny, and I drew cheese. And I flicked cheese. And isn't that the moral of this story? That the real cheese was the friends we flicked along the way. I'm afraid that's all we've got time for. We've reached the end of my video. If you would like to be a great friend and just ring my bell or give me a thumbs up or subscribe, you know how the algorithm works. Thanks, goodbye, stay beautiful.